Hello and welcome back to the Scenario 7 podcast YouTube channel. My name is Sam and this is week 3 of our F1 Fantasy show. In this episode, we'll be looking back at how we did in Australia, talking about price changes and looking ahead to this weekend's Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, going through Matt's team and any alternatives he might look to swap in before the deadline. But before anything else, let's introduce our fantasy expert. It is the man, the myth, the legend. It's Matthew Collier. Matt, how are you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Thank you, Sam. Very much looking forward to the first sprint weekend of the season. How are you doing?
Yeah, all good. As you mentioned, it is the first sprint race of the season. So it does spice things up a bit because you're going to have your changes done on the Friday. Normally it's the Saturday because you have qualifying on the Saturday. But with the sprint weekend, the format is so on Friday, you have qualifying on Saturday of the sprint race. And on Sunday, you have the race as normal. So make sure you get your changes in. This is an early warning. Get your changes in before Friday, before the qualifying on Friday. But first things first, the code for our fantasy league is going to be on the screen now. Feel free to join the league, compete against all of the Scenario 7 co-hosts, including me and Matt, our fantasy expert. Of course, prizes are there to be won for the winners. It's currently being toppled by, actually, I'm not going to say it because I'm about to unveil it in a second, but yeah, make sure you get involved. It's a lot of fun. And yeah, see if you can beat the Scenario 7 co-hosts. Let's look back at Australia because it wasn't last week, it was 2 weeks ago. We had a week's break in between. So let's have a look where everyone sits in the table, starting with something we haven't mentioned so far because it's been the same person every week. But let's look at Performer of the Week. So this is the person who got the most points in the week. Not the most points overall, but just in this week. And this, in Australia, it was Linus S. with 313 points after using his Mega Driver. So he is the Performer of the Week. Top of the league, it stayed the same every single week. I mean, it's still early in the season. It could change, but it's been a very good start from the Scenario 7 podcast's very own Joe Roberts, who's currently sitting on 755 points. When you hear the tally I'm on in a second, he's got quite a lead on me, especially. Be a very strong effort from you, Joe. I don't like giving you praise, but you do deserve it. Credit where credit's due. Me next, and after week 3, I have dropped to 42nd. Yeah, it's not been great for me. I've got 452 points. Australia didn't really... I was thinking, you know what? Let's build some momentum. Let's get up the leaderboard. I didn't have a great weekend in Saudi Arabia. People are I'm going to make some changes. We're going to shoot up. I bought in Verstappen. Yeah, he didn't finish the race, and I Mega Drivered Sainz, and he didn't finish the race either. In fact, he had an awful qualifying as well, so he got me some good minus points, and yeah, I think I got less than 100 just in Australia alone, so that went really well. But now on to you, Matt, and you are sitting in a very solid 24th. Out of 71 with 591 points. Are you happy with that tally?
Looking back at Australia, I was joint 12th for the week, so definitely gained points. I know it doesn't look like I've gained it in the overall leaderboard, but yeah, I've definitely caught up on the people ahead of me, so not too bad.
Yeah, not too bad at all. And you've still got your turbo driver to play with as well, so haven't deployed that yet, while we know quite a few people in the league have. Let's go a bit more in depth with your team last week, Matt, and the team you settled with is on screen now. So the drivers being Ocon, Perez, Magnussen, Sainz, Leclerc as your turbo driver, and Ferrari getting 198 points just last week. which is a very solid total. You ended up only making one change, that was bringing in Ocon for Bottas. How would you assess your team's performance? Is there anything you would have done differently?
Probably I wish that I took out Magnussen and put Ocon in and left Bottas in, because I literally got rid of Bottas, who got 20 points, and put in Ocon, who got 20 points. No, but still, as I said, I'm still slowly climbing the leaderboard, so good points from Australia.
Yeah, very, very solid. As always, there have been a lot of price fluctuations since the last race, especially with an extra week between, with it not being back to back. So we are now going to talk about some price fluctuations that have happened. Of course, the prices are just, they change so often. So the prices we say now probably won't be the prices when you see this. It will change over the weekend. These won't be the final prices, but we can still talk about what the prices are changing at the moment, because they're quite interesting. So let's talk about, first of all, the driver changes. What driver changes have caught your eye, either going up in price or potentially down?
Yeah, I'll start with drivers, but firstly, I just want to talk about how many price drops there have been. There's been 17 price drops, which is pretty ridiculous. It's probably the craziest I've ever seen F1 fans see in terms of people getting rid of drivers and constructors. So yeah, I'll go through some drivers to begin with. First of all, Lando Norris has increased 0.5 after just one race, which is insane. So he's gone from 15.4 to 15.9. Another one that's also increased is George Russell, 23.6 to 23.9. One Yu Zhou, 8.2 to 8.3. Hamilton has gone down in price from 30.6 to 30.4. And despite getting a point in Australia, Alex Albon has gone from 7.3 to 7.1, and Mick Schumacher has gone from 6.4 to 6.2.
Wow, some interesting changes there. What about with the constructors? I mean, of course, there's 10 more drivers than there are constructors, but any interesting changes there?
Yeah, one of them being Haas, which I've explained previously in my alternative picks and ones to consider. They've gone from 6.2 to 6.7, so 0.5 increase. Alpine have gone from 13.9 to 14.1, so it's 0.2 increase. And the main team that's gone down in price in the constructors is Red Bull, from 32.3 to 32.1.
Yeah, as their reliability issues plague on, they have seen a drop. Very interesting. It's time now to look at the team that you're going to be rocking with this week. Of course, as we say every week, it's subject to change. Matt's going to be tinkering with this until the deadline, until before quali on Friday. He's going to be looking at the times in first practice one. He's going to be seeing what's happening, and this probably won't be the final team. However, we can tell you what it's looking like at the moment, so you can get an insight into what Matt is thinking. So first up, we have got Esteban Ocon, who keeps his place in the team, costing 12.6 million. As you said, you had Bottas the week before in Saudi Arabia, and you bought in Ocon, and they got the same amount of points. Why have you kept Ocon in your team?
He's only, I think it's one of 4 or 5 drivers so far this season that have scored points in every race, and one of them is Esteban Ocon. And it's fair to say that at the moment he's outperforming Fernando Alonso, and he's always, as I said, been those points. Got 20 points last week, which is really good. So that's why I've kept him.
Yeah, next up is the Mexican Minister of Defense. It is the best driver on the grid. It's Sergio Perez, sitting at 18 million. Why have you kept him?
I think despite Red Bull's reliability, I think he's still going to be fighting for podiums. And yeah, he finished second in the last race, ended up beating Verstappen, so ended up getting some extra points. And yeah, if Red Bull can tighten up on their reliability and have less DNFs than podiums, then yeah, that would be helpful for my team.
Yeah, very helpful. DNFs have plagued you a bit this year, Matt. But next up is the only change. And we've said quite a few times this year, or if I've asked the question, is Kevin Magnussen a driver that's going to likely to stay in the team the whole year? And we've been really positive. And it's race 4, and you're taking him out for Valtteri Bottas, who's going to cost you 9.4 million. So after all the praise we've given him, admittedly didn't have a great Australia, why have you brought Bottas in for K-Mag?
There's a lot more opportunity now with points in the midfield, and having increased my value, I can push to more reliable drivers that will score points. And it could all change. You could end up scoring points this weekend, but I've gone for Bottas just because I think he's more reliable to score points in these races coming up.
Fair enough. Now you've kept the feisty 3, the Ferrari 3. This, of course, being at Imola, their home race. Let's start off with Carlos Sainz costing 17.3 million. Didn't have the race in Australia. A lot of us was hoping, especially me, who did mega driver him, and he did get me minus points. But after a poor performance in Australia, why have you kept Sainz?
Yes, he got a DNF. That's now 6 DNFs in the last 3 races, including constructors and drivers. So yeah, this season's definitely proved a lot about the reliability this season. I still think Sainz, as you've explained in previous podcasts, has the chance of winning and probably will win a race this season. So I don't want to risk it and take him out and he ends up winning the race. And yeah, he's still in a very competitive car, so that's why I've kept him.
Yeah, and of course it's his teammate stealing all the headlines. Charles Leclerc, 18.8 million. He is your mega driver. I mean, this one was never in doubt, was it?
Yeah, it's just nailed on, really, isn't it? He's doing so well this season, and yeah, must have if you don't have him in your team.
Yeah, and completing the hat trick, it is the constructor, which is Ferrari, 25.8 million. Again, similar like Leclerc, Ferrari is the must-have constructor at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. The must-have. Very unlucky not to get an extra bonus in points with Sainz's DNF. But yeah, Ferrari are definitely the ones you want for your constructor.
Yeah, it looks like a solid team, and we've just gone through it. But Matt, who are some alternatives that you're potentially looking at, scouting out, that you might be tempted to put in before the deadline, and people that the people at home should consider putting in your team that you haven't already mentioned?
Yeah, so I'm gonna pick out 3 alternatives. I'll start off with a constructor, and that is Alpine, currently priced at 14.1. They also have a qualifying bonus streak this weekend, the only constructor to have any streak. So if both the Alpines qualify in the top 10, they'll get extra points. So I'm definitely keeping an eye on how Alpine do. Another option that people should consider is Lando Norris, very much in good form at the moment, and his price has just been rising because of it. 15.9. I think he'll still do quite well this weekend. And another one to consider is One You Joe, priced at 8.5, so not really expensive, but his last 3 races, he's finished P10, P11, and P11, so he's very consistent. Yeah, that's why you should consider him for your teams.
Yeah, Joe is also consistent in the fact that he's always in the alternatives one. He's always someone that you're keeping your eye on to potentially swap in. But that wraps up our video looking at all of the fancy things that you're going to need before this weekend. I hope you found it helpful. A reminder that the deadline for changes is an hour before qualifying. And as this is a sprint weekend, that will be on Friday, not Saturday. But sprint weekend also means more points for grabs. So you're going to have to make sure the team that you want is submitted by then, or you could miss out big time. This is where we catch up to Joe. This is where we make that push. But a reminder to like and subscribe if you've liked if you've liked the content. Remember to follow us on socials to keep up to date on all we have coming out soon. That will be linked down below. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.